few people reached out. Of course, the shir is also available on all podcast platforms and as well on YouTube. You could click subscribe if you like to get the shir a little bit easier. Of course, the shir should be sponsored for all our Chaylim, Yudamir, Ben Yakir, Menu, Chaim, and Sashlam, Simon, Ezedel, Sarah Baskin, the Basim, Chayseus, Chaim, Saresi, Yusel, Bemidel, Chana, Father, we need to read the Neil, Ben Chana, Rezel, Libaveria, Tovia Musa, Besaisha, Achli, Israel. We pick it up in the bottom of Sadi Bezim and Bezim. We're in the middle of discussion that Abaye cannot fathom that a mechitza will make something more usher. That is what we saw yesterday, that Abaye said, Amrle Abaye in the bottom of Sadi Bezim and Bezim, Kina Matzina Mechitza Le'isr. It comes out that a mechitza comes out to hurt you. And Abaye didn't like that. How is that possible? We're trying to prove this point. So Amrle Rava, Abaye on the last line, Matzina Mechitza Le'isr. Are you telling me that it's not possible that a mechitza never comes to make usher? But we learned when we learned to Sadi Gimel, Amar Aleph, today's daf, Sikech al gabe achsadra. If someone puts chach on top of an achsadra, on top of a platform, sheyesh la p'tzimim, that has these little p'tzimim, that has these posts, kshira is kosher. Again, so what's the case? Let's just go straight to the picture. Here is basically an achsadra, this two-walled creature, but on the third wall there's a little post, a little tefach on the third wall, like you could see in this picture. And the truth is, in this picture you also could see similarly, you see jutting out of the last wall the little p'tzim, the little post. Says the Gemara, that's going to be good. However, if you hishve p'tzimel, but if you flatten out the p'tzimim, then it is possible. Like you see over here, that if you make it straight down that wall, then you effectively removed your post. Then what do? Like you see also over here, that you just made it straight down the walls, that you no longer have those posts on the ends, and then it's going to be possible. So says Rav Abaye, clearly we see that when you add on, it yes makes it possible. Amarle Abaye answers, Lididi Kshera. First of all, I hold in that case is kosher. You see, Piktikar Yair Visaisem. Says Abaye, I'm not bothered by your question. Lididach, you argue, and you say that case of this platform is puzzle. Sealing mechitzasi is not really because you added on walls, but rather the reason is because it's just removing of a wall. Again, like you see over here in this case, you have this little tefach. And what happens when you build off that side wall? What you're effectively doing is you're removing the wall, says Abaye, like you see over here to over here, and therefore it's not exactly building a wall. And this is the reason why, according to Abaye, it would be a kosher sukkah, as you see in this picture, because Pitikar Yair Visaisim goes down and effectively closes off that third wall. Amarle Rava continues the Gemara. Rava says, Amarle Rava Rechanal Abaye. So we try again. We don't find the case of mechitza that's aser batanya. We learned in a brisa. Bayis, we have a house, shechatzi of mikura, v'chatzi of ina mikura. Half of the house has a roof, and that half of the house does not have a roof. What's the halacha? Gefanim kan, mutal Israel kan. If you have grapevines on one part of this house, mutal Israel kan, you let it plant greens on the other vine, greens on the other side of the vine. But if it was equal aser, again, let's pull up the picture and then we're going to explain. As you see over here, that if you have a roof over half a house and over the under the roofed area, let's say you have grapevines, similar to Allah we learned yesterday of Klaya Karen, that you're not allowed to have two species close to each other. So you have grapevines in one area, you're not allowed to be allowed to have greens in the other area. However, when there's no roof, then we say the edge of the roof goes down and effectively closes off that area, and now the grapevines are in a separate shus, I'll be mutter. However, when you flatten off the roof, then it's going to be aser. So says Rav Abaye, we clearly see that having more mechitzos, yes, makes it aser. Amarle, again, hachsam, sealing mechitza, so you're not actually building a mechitza, you're just removing the mechitza. So far, where Abaye has hold his own, says Abaye can't be the adding on mechitzas is going to answer you. Says the Gemara Shachli Rav Abaye. Rav said to Abaye biyad Rav Shemaya bar Zira. V'loy matzinu mechitza le'isra. Another question again, pestering Abaye. Abaye said it can't be a mechitza asers. We try another one. Attempt number 4. V'atani we learned to the rice. Yesh mechitzas akarim lahakel. There are cases of partitions with regard to karem, regard to klayim karem, like we started discussing. Sometimes it is a kula, lahakel. Sometimes it is a chumrah. Ketzad, what's the case? Karamana to add ikar mechitza. If you have the grapevines that's planted all the way up to a wall, the base of a mechitza, then zoyreya the ikar mechitza velach. Then you let it plant the grain right next to the wall. You have a real wall. You're allowed to plant straight up to the wall. She'ilu ain't sham mechitza. If there was no mechitza, marchei dalet amos zayreya. You'd have to distance yourself 4 amos. Zeh mechitza karim lahakel. So that's the kulam, like you see over here in this picture. I'm sorry, you do not see in any of these pictures. I apologize. Basically, very simple. You have a wall, and you plant it straight up to that wall. Very simple. So says the Gemara, if there was no wall, you'd have to wait 4 hours between the two species. But now that there's a wall, you got to go straight up to the wall. On one side, ships the wall on the other side. That's a case of mechisa kerem lahakel. So far, so good. And here's going to be the question. Last narrow line. What's the case that's going to be a chumrah? We discussed this many blots ago that you're drawing off of the wall 11 amos. Then what is the halacha? Lo yavi zera l'sham. There's 11 amos between the grains or the grapes and the wall. Don't bring the greens over there. Why? If there was no mechitza, you would have to just wait 4 amos. And yet here, there is a mechitza, so we see you need 11 amos. So this is the case that the mechitza is going to be l'chomra. So now fine. So we prove the case of mechitza l'chomra, again, because in the case of the mechitzas, we're saying now that you need 11 amos, whereas when there are no mechitzas, you just wait 4 amos. But now the Gemara proves this case. Where do we see that this is actually true? Says the Gemara of Zui mechitza karim l'chachmir. Amar lei, so Abaye responded, and according to your reasoning, ask me in a Mishnah. You're asking me for this brisa? Ask me straight for a Mishnah. The Mishnah we learned a long time ago, karachas akarem, the karachas, the bald spot, the clearing in the vineyard. How big does that hole? Again, we have our whole field. We have our whole field, and we're leaving a blank area in the middle so we can plant another species. Says Beis Shammai, that middle area has to be 24 amos. 16 amo. That's if you have a hole in the middle. Machola karem, says the Gemara. But let's say you have you're leaving a space on the perimeter. You want to leave a space blank on the perimeter of this field. Beishami says you need 16 amos. Beisal says you need 12. Mark explains further, what is this case of a bald spot in the vineyard? A karem, a vineyard that the middle is barren. In the Insham 16 amos, Tezayin amo, according to Beis Shammai. If you don't have 16 amos, you're not allowed to plant there. Let's say there are 16 amos in the middle. What do? You leave the area of Kedei Avadasai, which we've learned is the area so that you can walk around with your animal to plow the field, which is 4 amos. And then you plant the rest. And we continue in this brisa. And what is the case of the perimeter of the vineyard that you're leaving empty? They have to leave between the vineyard and the wall. That if there's not 12 amos, you're not allowed to plant another seed over there, a different species. However, let's say there was 12 amos there, then nice like they have a dasai. The Zayreas Amoisar, leave over 4 amos and you plant the rest. So Abaye is asking back to Rava. Rava, just seemingly asked me from a case of a brisa that we saw over here on the first wide line. The Rava said to Abaye that when you have a wall, you need 11 amos. When you don't have a wall, you have to have 4 amos. Abaye responded, what are you asking me from a brisa? Ask me straight from this Mishnah. Ella, so Abaye continues. Again, this is Abaye's way of defending himself. Ella, Abaye says back to Rava, what's the reason you didn't ask me from this Mishnah? Ella, Hasam Lava, Inu Taima. The reason is, the Chol Dalit Amos Legabe Kerem Avoidas HaKerem Legabe Geder Kivin Mizdar Nafkurim after Luhu Beini Ubeini. Says the Gemara, what's the reason you didn't ask me for the Mishnah? The Chol Arba Amos. Every 4 amos Legabe HaKerem Avoidas HaKerem. That is the area that you need to work the vineyard. Why do you have to leave 4 amos blank? Because that's the area that you need to plow the field. Legabe Geder. And then with regards, when it comes to a wall, why do you need more area? Because you can't plant straight up to the wall because you're going to break the wall. Since it's going to ruin the wall. You don't plant all the way up to the wall. Okay, the Beni Ubeni, and the area that's between the two, meaning we said that you're planting and you're leaving a barren area in the middle. We'll show a picture in a minute. If there's a 4 amma area to actually plant, after you leave over the 4 amma to plow, if you have 4 amma to plant, that's chashiv loy chashivan. It's not chashiv. So Abaye answered that the reason why you're giving the extra space by the wall is not a chumrah on the wall. Again, let's first look at a picture and then we'll explain what's going on over here. This is the case of the karachas akarim. You're leaving a clearing in the vineyard. Beis Hillel says you need 16 amos, as you see over here. You need 4 amos in order to plow. Another 4 amos the other side in order to plow. Beis Hillel says you need extra area. You need 8 amos in the middle for a field. This is the case of the perimeter of the vineyard. This picture should be familiar. I believe this is the picture that we had back then. That you see over here, that next to the wall around the perimeter, you're leaving 4 amos to support the wall, because if not, it's going to destroy the wall. And that's the machlekes how much area you need to plant. Is it 4? Is it 8? As well as in the middle. So now again, what was the Gemara's question? The Gemara's question was that seemingly we see in this brisa, Rava said to Abaye, we see this brisa that when you have a wall, you need more area. And that's the question, because Abaye said that walls cannot add up to make an isser. We see over here when you have a wall, you need more area. That was Rava's question to Abaye. Abaye responded, Rava, if you're asking me about a case of a wall of a vineyard, ask me straight for the Mishnah. So why didn't you ask me for the Mishnah, says Abaye? You know why you didn't ask me for the Mishnah? Because the Pasha answered. Because this case of Klai HaKarim is a different reason. Because by Klai HaKarim, you know why you need to leave extra room to the wall? Because you practically, if you plant seed all the way up to the wall, it's going to bust open the wall. You don't want to do that. That's why you leave open an extra order to and then you need another 4 amos to plant area. But it's not because the wall is creating the situation. Says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Gimel Karfifos Zebes Hadzeh. We have 3 Karfifos, one next to another. We'll explain what this means in a moment, and we'll show a picture. The 2 outside ones are fully enclosed. And the middle one is not. And there's one person in each one of these 3 enclosures. We make it like a shayara, a caravan, you get your entire area. You make it like a caravan. You get the entire area that you. So here you see the picture. Again, let's remind yourselves. Karfifos are the sugya we had in the beginning of the Masechta. That when Shabbos begins and you find yourself out in the middle of no man's land and you want to be able to carry, so what do? You make these fake partitions. You make these stakes in the ground. Or you make these horizontal ropes, and thereby you make some sort of partition to let yourself to carry inside. 2 halachas you have to remind yourself. Halacha number 1: that if you're by yourself, how much area are you allowed to enclose to carry? 2 sa. Sasayim, up till 2 sa. If you're one of 3 people, if you have 3 people, then you're a rabbim. Then we call you a shayara. You're called a caravan. And then you let to make this as big as you want. So says the Gemara, when you have these 3 enclosures like you see in front of you, you have 2 big ones on the sides, and the middle one is smaller. This is reminiscent of our big chutzner that's opened up into a smaller chutzner. What was the halacha in that case? Like over here, the outside are bigger, open into the smaller ones. So the outside guys are megufafim. They are fully enclosed because they have this little last wall. And that is the reason why they have 4 complete walls. And the middle one is completely opened up. So says the Gemara, if there's one person in each one of these chatzeros, back into the Gemara, then what's the halacha? Then we view them all as being one big parsha, and you get as much air as you want. We view it as if you're a rabbin. View as if you're a rabbin. But let's say the middle one is the megufaf. The middle one is the big one. And the 2 outside ones are not megufafim. Again, here's the picture that you see over here, that the middle one now has all the walls. The middle one is the fully enclosed, and the outside ones are like the smaller chatzeros. They are not enclosed, and you have one person inside each one. Says the Gemara of Yachab Zeh. Then they're each viewed separately, because we don't view the 2 little guys as if he's part of the big guy, and therefore this is as if there's 3 separate people, and each one gets 2 sa, 6 sa entirely, but they don't get kol tzarkan because we don't view it as if it's a rabbim, we don't view it as if it's a shayara all together. So now, based off of that premise, says the Gemara Yibayilahu, echad b'zeh ve'echad b'zeh u'shnayim be'em samahu. Let's say you have 1 in this one, 1 in this one, and you have 2 in the middle one. What is the halacha in that case? If the two guys in the middle go to the right, there's three in the right. If two guys go to the left, there's three in the left. Or maybe we say, or maybe the two guys in the middle, they're going to split up. And one's going to go here and one's going to go here. And what are you going to left with? You're going to be left with two in one of them and one in the other. So neither place will have a full three people. So how do we view this? Do we view this as if the two people will go together somewhere and therefore at least make one side into Rabim, allow them to carry as much as they want? Or we view it that they're going to split up and therefore no one can carry more than two saw. Says the Gemara of Imtim Sleimer, and if you're going to tell me, if you're going to tell me that they're going to split up and go equal ways, then what's the halacha if we have two on either side and we have one in the middle? In this case, you have two on either side, and you have one in the middle. So if this middle guy goes one way, he has three. Middle guy goes the other way, he has three. So says the Gemara, one person for sure will have three. So maybe we should view it like a rabbi, a shayara, and carry as much as you want. Or perhaps no. Or maybe it's going to mess you up. It's a suffix. You don't know which way he's going to go, and therefore no one has three. Says the Gemara, on both of these last two cases, we're going to be makel, and we're going to view it as if they have three people in each one of them, and therefore you're going to give you kol tzarkarn. You could carry as much as you want. Amar Rav Chisda, moving along to Sadi Gimel and Beis, says the Gemara, Gidod chamisha umechitza chamisha ein mitzarfim. This is Rav Chisda. Let's just get a little bit of an outline over here. This is Rav Chisda's opinion, which the Gemara is going to have a question on. And then I'll just highlight that we're going to have later on in the Gemara, if you're looking in the page in front of you, we're going to have Darsh Mereimar, who's going to say the opposite. He's going to say Gidul Chamisha Mechitz Chamisha Mitztarfim. That is the Machlekes Rav Chisda and Mereimar. So again, let's understand this. What's Rav Chisda is the first opinion. Gidud Chamisha, you have an elevated area of 5 tvachim. Umechitza Chamisha, and you have another 5 tvachim on top of that. Ein Mitztarfim, they do not combine that. Unless you have the whole thing as a mechitza or the whole thing as a gidut. As you see over here, you have 5 tvachim of elevated area, and then you have another 5 tvachim of a wall. So how do we view this? On one hand, when I'm standing outside, what do I see? I just see a wall of 10 tvachim. But on the other hand, it's not really a wall of 10 tvachim, because 5 is just an elevated platform, and 5 is the wall on top of that. So it says Rav Chisda, nothing doing. It's not called a mechitza unless you have fully elevated or fully mechitza. Says the Gemara, Neisvei, let me ask you a question for the following slightly complicated brisa. Shtei v'chatzeir zulam al mizu. We have 2 chatziris, one on top of another. The top courtyard is 10 tefachim above the bottom courtyard. That's one case. Sounds familiar? Or the top courtyard is 5 tefachim elevated, 5 tefachim courtyard on top of the bottom chatzar. What's the halacha in both of these cases? Ma'arvin shnayim ve'in ma'arvin echad. They're considered separate entities, so they have to make separate eruvin. They cannot make an eruv together. Pachas mikan, then ma'arvin echad ve'in ma'arvin shnayim. So what do we see clearly? Ask the Gemara, ask Rav Chisda. We see clearly that when we have 5 elevated, 5 wall, it's considered a bechitza. Because we say it in this case, when you have 5 and 5, they cannot make an eruv together. Each one is their separate entity. Answers the Gemara, no, Rav Chisda admits that the guy in the bottom, he's considered his own rishos. Like we said, and this is very, very logical. When I'm in the bottom and I look at what do I see? I just see a wall of 10 tefachim. So I see a wall of 10 tefachim. That's the reason why I am considered my own entity. That makes a lot of sense. Says the Gemara, if that's true, so what should come out? I'm on the bottom. I see a wall. So I can make my own Eruv, Ta'ariv Shnayim, I can make myself and they can make the Eruv themselves. And I cannot make an Eruv with him because we're in separate Shuyos. El Yaina, but the guy up there, what's he? He's in a totally different world, but he doesn't have mechitzas at all. I have mechitzas. Why? Because I have 5 and 5, and to me it looks like 10. But to him up there, he doesn't have anything. So what's the reason that he's allowed to make an Eruv by himself? Says the Gemara, no. The case is that the top one is 10 amais tall. And let's show a picture over here. Says the Gemara that the case is that Al Yoina was Kula Begidod. I'm sorry, this is Kula Begidod. This is the Gemara's question. Says the Gemara that, you can really see it over here, that you can just envision that this is going to be 2 levels, that he's going to be 10 amais taller, and therefore he's going to be his own Rishos. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Let's go into the Seifa. Ema Seifa, Pachas Mikan, if it's less than that, which we just said, Ma'arvin Echad, Ma'arvin Shnayim. So we originally thought what that meant, it was 5 and 5, or 10 Tfachim. If it's less than that, then we're considered one entity, and we can make one Erev by ourselves. But says the Gemara, so Ibaya, Chad Tarif, Ibaya, Trey Tarif. I don't understand. If you want, you can make an Erev by yourself. I skipped it, sorry. Why is that true? I don't understand. If the case is that the top chutzner is on an elevated platform in their own area, what's the reason that the Brisa says that we can make an erev together when it's less and we can't make an erev together? Why? We should still be able to make it by ourselves. Answers the Gemara. The case is like this, that the bottom guy is fully busted open to the top guy, and that's the reason why they're considered that it's separate rishuyos. Going again, that the bottom one is fully open up to the elyoina. Says the Gemara. I'm sorry. Let's go back for 1 second. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. One more time. Amar Rabbi Arula, Kikoin. Let's go back a few lines. Apologies. Amar Rabbi Arula, Kikoin Elyoina Migufefes Ares Amos. I read that wrong. Doesn't mean that the top guy is 10 amos tall. It's Migufefes 10 amos. It means that it has walls caving in till 10 amos. Do we have a picture? Yes, thank you. We have a picture right over here. Now, let's get this clear. Not that he's 10 amos taller. I'm sorry. It means that this top guy has an opening in his wall until 10 amos. A tremendous pirza. What's 10 amos? 10 amos is the shear that it's not a Pesach, it's not a doorway, but it's no more a wall. So it's considered like we're one Rishos. Now it's going to make a lot of sense. Says the Gemara, Pachas Mikan, if it's less than that, we originally thought. What does less than that means? We thought it meant less than height, because it was 5 and 5. Now, what does the word Pachas Mikan mean? It means less than that 10. That 10 is one big busted open area. What happens if it's less than 10 busted open? Then that's the din of a Pesach. Then that guy is like a doorway between me. Now, says the Gemara, 1 second. Pachas Mikan, then what shall halacha be? The Brisa said, Ma'arvin Echavei, Ma'arvin Shnayim, but Ibaya Chatar, Ibaya Trei Tarif, if the case is like this, and now it goes, that is Pachas from 10, ad 10 amos. What's halacha? That's the din of a doorway. That area is the din of a doorway, so now we can be able to either, what's the story with the doorway? You can either close the door and we're two separate entities, or open the door and by yourself. So says the Gemara, the Brisa doesn't make any sense. Answers the Gemara, no. The case is not that it's 10 amos, that it's fully busted open the whole wall. That's the reason why you lost the chatzar. Says the Gemara, 1 second. If that's true, then the bottom guy should be able to make one erev altogether. Trei loitar. I can't make an erev with you because there's no wall between us. Meaning we go all one big happy family. But El Yaina, the top guy, he's on a separate platform. He could be able to make an erev by himself or with you. Gemara answers yes. That's true. Sounds a little bit schwer to read into the Brisa, but it's true. It's only referring to the bottom guy. That's when it's less than that, you can make an erev together, but it by himself. But it is true that the top guy is in a separate platform. So the Gemara is concluding in order to resurrect, I'll say almost, in order to bring back to life the opinion of Rav Chisda. The Rav Chisda said on the top of the Amud that if you have 5 in elevation and 5 in mechitza, and it does not have a din of a mechitza, the Gemara has to explain that this Bryce is talking about an interesting case, that the wall is completely busted open, and that is the reason why you can make an erev all one together, and it's all talking about from the bottom guy's perspective. Darash Meremar, and now Meremar comes along and he argues on this whole parsha. Says Meremar, Gidol Chamisha, Misha mitzarfin. Says Meremar, it is yes mitzarfin. Says the Gemara, Ashkei Ravino Ravacha Brei Deraba Amar Le Tanimar Midi Mechitza. Did you teach us something about mechitzas? No, we didn't. The Hilchasa says the Gemara, what is the halacha? Gidol Chamisha Mechitza Chamisha mitzarfin, like the opinion of Meremar. Beautiful. Let's finish up the Gemara. If a diurin come on Shabbos, we know the din of Erev Chatzir says everyone in the Chatzir has to partake in the Erev. What happens? Someone shows up on Shabbos. Does he mess it up because he's not part of the Erev? Amar Rav Chisda Tashma. If we have a big chatzor open into a small chatzor, again, let's remind ourselves this case. It goes into the smaller chatzor. What's halacha? The big guy is mutter because I have all 4 walls. I got these carved in walls and the small one does not. Why because the small one's like the doorway to the large one? So the Gemara thinks that what's this case? It's nifrasa. When did it get busted open? The Gemara thinks it got busted open on Shabbos. And yet, what does it say? That the katana is asura. So the Gemara thinks that this is a raya that when someone comes on Shabbos, he will aser. No, it means that it busted open on Friday. Don't say perhaps it means it was busted on Friday. It certainly was busted open during the day. How do I know that? You taught us. If you made an Eruv, and then what happens? The door closed up, the window got closed up. That when Shabbos begins, that's what makes the halach. If Shabbos began, you have an Eruv, your Eruv goes. Shabbos begins, you have no Eruv, it doesn't go. So therefore, in this case, where it's nifrata, it has to be it happened on Friday. Because the halacha, we hold that once it goes, Pick it up from here.